Spoilers ahead for The Promised Neverland, but you'll probably already figured that out if you're watching this video anyway. Also, this video was supposed to be a part of Novid November by Pause and Select. However, it's December now, and there you go. I just wanted to post this to show my work anyway. Thought it was a good video. Sister Krone. Oh, Sister Krone. Sister Krone. Since 2019, I've been trying to make a video about this Promised Neverland Season 1 antagonist. I mean, talking about her in the show is easy enough. Sister Krone is a tragic figure who's only antagonistic towards the children of Gracefield just to survive the systems that be. She's a complex character whose quest to become a mama through heavy struggle and self-preservation ends fruitless as her desire to undermine Isabella smacks her right in the pie hole. A bitter reminder, at the end of the day, there can always be favoritism, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Her tale is straightforward. Heck, I'll even go as far and say that Sister Krone being black in the context of the story's oppressive society, combined with her backstory, unfortunate demise, and baton pass of the pen that would guide the Gracefield kids to escape, really adds enough social commentary to make a video about all on its own. Even if these themes were done accidentally, unknowing to the creators.
Foreshadowing.
Ergo, I think I've made it plenty clear that I fully understand and appreciate her utility as a character. But after such a long time, I can finally say the following statement without any fear at all. Sister Krone's look is indeed problematic, and I'm not taking that back. But hold on, Misfit. Are we really going there? Like, hasn't this topic on Sister Krone been done to death by now? Come on! Did you really read the prompt? You need to bring something new to the I'm getting to that. Regardless of whether you think her design is problematic or not, or whether I could make a video to convince you is not the goal today. Today's video instead is a personal confessional of some of the dumbest things I tried to write in those previous scripts defending that design, why I wrote them that way, why my personal opinions have changed on the matter, and how opinions at large infected my approach to making this video as an anituber. I'm hoping that maybe people, especially other black anime fans, with a similar case of mind baloney might relate to me. I'll try my best not to go into absolutes as to not blanket the entire community, of course, and please write in the comments if I do. I really don't mean to, for I get passionate at times about my feels, and I just want people to know where I'm coming from. Now then, let's begin this confessional by running back all the way to May of 2019. On my channel, I've been attempting, and I mean attempting, to make a series every February for Black History Month about, well, black anime characters, and what I find interesting about them. Mostly in terms of design, but according to some people in the comment section, apparently, I'm buying a character analysis. Nonetheless, I try hard to do things the Misfit way. So for the next character of an examination I was thinking of tackling at the time, I wanted someone I could talk real shop about, get some maxi, some spaz, some passion on a topical character with a topical concept of interest. That's exactly when Promised Neverland brought us this bottle of Aunt Jemima's. The community from then on took a collective meltdown. Much of the discourse, no surprisingly, was around Sister Krone's unique way of expressing herself during the tenser moments of season 1. Manga readers, though, were like, amateurs, by reminding all of us about these classic gems of printed media. So this whole situation is a nice exercise in picking your poison. At least, that's what I feel now. Back then, I was more concerned with a self-pressure of making content I liked while also not being labeled as that gal. You know, when you make content that's based on political views, races, or genders, or whatever junk that completely matches who you are as a person. One reason I made the channel was because I wanted to be free to talk about black characters on my own accord. But for a long time, despite how well those videos did for the channel, I wouldn't make them back to back in hopes of not being labeled as just the black girl who only thinks about black anime. I want my content as an anituber to be good or bad because I'm an anituber first. racist, not because I'm pulling a weird race card. All of this reasoning should have been my first clue for the multiple drafts, however. Scripts 1 through 3 were mostly defending Sister Krone's design, focusing more on positive aspects of her look. Like how she's indeed a black character, trying to weasel some argument to appease the vocal minority that gets riled up when you don't correctly clarify if a character in anime is actually black or just dark skinned. And I know, it was bad. Really bad. Luckily, I furiously threw that piece out because of how ignorant it sounded. Those initial scripts, I will admit, were made from fear of not wanting to seem racist or gatekeepy. I specifically remember trying to find both sides of the argument to combat comments like these I would see on the internet occasionally. And please don't get me started on the Japanese people don't interact with black people as much as we do, so what they are doing isn't racist, you dummy shtick. And while I have trouble putting my thoughts into words, I mean, have you been hearing this video so far? Zeria's video, Let's Talk About Sister Krone, gives a much more concise working of what I'm talking about. In one snippet of the video, they bring up that Promised Neverland not only isn't free of criticisms despite the show's origins, but Krone's portrayal could derive from examples in American culture that the creators reflected from the media they consumed, which to no one's surprise is full of stereotypes. So confronting Sister Krone's mammy exterior, monstrous way of moving, and expressive expressions, in contrast to the lack of lip balm worn by every other character, is a legitimate observation to be had, whether some people think it puts too much politics in their anime or not. Either way, before throwing out script number 3, I talked with my friend and fellow antiuber Hayden about what I could do to improve. He suggested trying to find a concrete quote from the creators as to why Sister Krone was drawn the way she was, and maybe that will bring some peace to my mind. And so a quick Google search later brought me to this, translated blurb from a special edition of Volume 13. In it, the two creators explained how they at first were going to have Krone be white, since she would be a tough-looking, muscle-bound young woman who seems like she would speak shady-sounding broken Japanese. But in the end, went with the idea of making her black for an easier way to identify her and distinguish her from Isabella at a glance to the readers.
What? What the fuck?
I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but doesn't the simplicity of their reasoning come off as a little naive? Like, it's really been sticking with me how different she moves and looks compared to other characters in the show. I get they wanted to distinguish her from Isabella, but they could have made her design a little less jarring. Her younger portrayals did that just fine. Look at this cute little baby Krone! Still distinct, but within reason against the backdrop of the other children, so you can better focus on her plight as a character than as a caricature. Even if you use the, well, she chases the children in hide and seek like so because this is a psychological horror, and psychological horror anime got them weird imagery card, it doesn't hold water because when Isabella makes a creepy face, it's nowhere near as exaggerated as Krone's. It's just stalker face, but anime-y. But I digress. The context I researched from the creators left me with more problems than solutions, as I tried to mend the already flimsy arguments in my previous iterations, just to prove to people I was giving the character a fair chance, or trying to keep up the good vibes and not downing them with hate by stuffing Western values in our Chinese cartoons. Speaking of, let's sidebar a bit towards that conversation. I promise this is attempting to go somewhere, but I apologize if it's still jumbled up. If you've been in the anime sphere for a while now, you know talks about anime being mainstream or globalized are buzzing and lively. And if you're anyone like me, you can't help but notice the occasional comment about fear that the Western world is trying to upend anime as we know it by readapting legacy anime into Americanized homunculi of their former selves. While this fear admittedly can be drastic at times, I kinda get where the fear comes from. I mean, the Netflix adaptation meme is an anime community staple for a reason. In fact, the Cowboy Bebop series is not doing anything to shake up that status quo at the time of writing. Everyone and their mother knows that Hollywood, for better or worse, will chase that bag, focusing more on brand recognition than quality of said work. So I'm not surprised when there is discourse over a Hollywood anime adaptation, even if sometimes that discourse is overblown. But where does this whole point fit within the video, you may be asking? Well, put yourself in my shoes for a second. You have anxiety about publishing a video about Sister Krone's features, worrying about that volatile backlash from a vocal minority. Even in big brain hindsight, it's something you shouldn't worry about because you have the right to make whatever you want on this godforsaken internet. But your brain throws out that logic in this given moment because you're lacking sleep, rushed the video's editing out through 3 days of crunch, and you just want to get the video out there to at least see, I don't know, 10 people engage with the thing before YouTube shuts off the views in their meager attempt to curb their algorithm. All I could ask for by now is just some comments that are constructive but not overly bashing my work. So please excuse me if I might be a little sensitive and easily prone to only see the bad comments from the good at this point. It hurts your vibes, man. Right in the pride. I remember reading consensuses on the forums and YouTube around the time, and I recall a handful of these globalization fear statements and how it affected me more than it really should have. Luckily, there are videos like Anime, the Global Medium by the Canipa Effect, who not only argue that globalization has always been a thing, but offer me a takeaway that globalizing anime is something to be celebrated, as we all work together for our love of this kooky craze from Japan. The video has a hopeful tone to it. I just wish that hopeful energy eased my thoughts then, rather than only realizing now. Fast forward to the throwing out of script number 5 and the final rewrite of my Sister Krone conundrum. For that entry, I attempted to be more objective in my analysis so I could attempt to explain, finally, why I thought her design was problematic. Because up until this point, I had been dancing over the thought in my mind that no matter how much of a positive spin I attempted to make, her stereotypical minstrel-looking self was something I couldn't unsee. Like an ever-growing ache in your brain telling you, hey, this is messed up, but through some force of masochistic discipline, try your hardest to ignore it. This is where I would also like to confess the part in script 5 where I tried to say she isn't much like a mammy character, but a cross between a mammy and a sapphire. Yeah, it's a shame it took a day to realize how dumb and embarrassing that angle sounded. I don't know, man, I was at a very low point with this one. It was here, and a year later, that I decided to take a break from making a Sister Krone video. I wasn't confident in what I was saying. I was fearful of not checking the facts long enough, and I didn't want to fall flat on my face no matter how few people would end up seeing it. In the meantime, I worked on other projects, played some video games, and watched other anime videos to put more food for thought in my head. Eventually, I came across one video that really opened my perspective and was the very inspiration for making this video right here.
Do you want to hear like stuff about like racism and hypocrisy and like fake gotcha moments?
Verdis Joe's Blackwashing Doesn't Exist, Why Black Edits Aren't Racist was a video that made me ask myself an important question. Why? Why am I so scared of the vocal minority? So what if my comment section has a bad day? That's not the reason why the Anime Misfit is a channel of opinions in the first place. My channel is the way it is because if I have an opinion, lame, controversial, spicy or not, I'm gonna talk about it, and no one can blame me otherwise. Joe's video about blackwashing had grit, that true blue type of opinion that never tried to please everyone, but really accomplishes making himself happy. While also knowing what he's talking about, of course. For example, in the video, he argues why changing the voice actors from black to not black isn't a two-way streak, because in most cases, black characters are used to tell black stories and experiences. When I heard this part in the video, I thought to myself, Krone's story potential is a bit wasted, don't you think? I mean, one could speculate a lot of things about a system of allowing female children to live in exchange of continuing this cycle of pain and suffering. What if it's not just Krone, but other types of women who get lesser opportunities, not based on results, but favoritism via looks or other platitudes? At this point, the ideas were buzzing in my head, but the most important thing I gained back from Joe's video was my confidence to talk about a black character as a black creator.
But wait, there's more!
One other note I would like to mention stems from a single comment from under Joe's video that reads, "It's so wild you're the only black creator I see talking about this. It's really sad how many people legit think black edits are not only racist, but convince black people that they are as well. And especially to my black friends, I want you to look at the reaction towards black expression and that of other races. The vitriol towards black creators is far more noticeable. Almost as if it's not the content people have an issue with, but black people loving their culture and expressing themselves. And I relate to this issue so much. This whole video is about curbing to an invisible force that I really shouldn't have to be affected by. As anti-tubers, we all have to struggle with the fear that our work will sometimes be garbage. But I shouldn't be scared of making a Sister Krone video as a black person simply because I enjoy talking about black issues in anime. It doesn't make me gatekeepy. It doesn't make me racist to dabble in those ideas. And it should never put me in a box that I, Misfit P. Waverton, can't be more of. I am not an analytical anti-tuber. I'm not even a well-written one. I scatterbrain my points, and researching tiny text from a JSTOR article is physically hard for me to do. I try my best not to mean harm when I attempt and fail to make an academic argument, and I do deserve to be called out for it, not saying I don't, but I see it now as a proper lesson that I need to learn with time. So thank you, Zeria, Kambina, and Joe for making the videos that you did, so I can finally put this yearly struggle of Sister Krone behind me.